My boss fired me on a Tuesday morning without explanation beyond, you know why. I'd spent 6 years building accounts at the marketing firm, while my brother rose to partner in just 3. What Trevor didn't know when he spread lies to eliminate his competition was that I'd been headhunted by his biggest client. And 2 years later, I'd be the CEO deciding whether to renew his contract. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this story, because what happens next will leave you absolutely stunned. "You're fired," Marcus Delgado, the managing partner, said without preamble. "Clear out your desk by noon. HR will escort you out." I sat in his office in Denver, coffee still warm in my hand, trying to process his words. "I don't understand. My performance reviews have been excellent. I just closed the Titan Industries account. And you know why this is happening. Don't insult my intelligence by pretending otherwise. I genuinely don't know. The hostile work environment you've created. The inappropriate comments. The undermining of team members. We've had multiple complaints." My heart pounded. "What complaints? From who?" "That's confidential. But they're credible, documented, and consistent. This isn't a negotiation, Sloan. You're terminated effective immediately." I walked out of his office in a daze. At my desk, I found a box and started packing. Photos. Awards. The coffee mug my niece made in art class. My coworker, Melissa, approached quietly. "Sloan, I'm so sorry. I can't believe this is happening. Do you know what I supposedly did?" She glanced around nervously. "There were complaints about you creating a toxic environment, making other people look bad in meetings, taking credit for teamwork." "That's not true. None of that's true." "I know. But someone submitted formal complaints with specific incidents and dates. HR investigated." "Who complained?" She lowered her voice. "I heard it was Trevor. Trevor. My brother. My younger brother who joined the firm 3 years after me and made partner 2 years before I did." "Why would Trevor?" "I don't know. But he was in Marcus's office for over an hour yesterday. And this morning you're fired." I went home and cried for exactly 1 hour. Then I got angry. I pulled up every performance review I'd ever received. Excellent. Exceeds expectations. Outstanding client management. Strong team collaboration. I pulled up every project I'd worked on with Trevor. On paper, we'd been equals. In reality, I'd done most of the work while he'd taken credit in partner meetings. The Titan Industries account, my biggest win, had been my project. I'd cultivated the relationship for 18 months. But Trevor had been in the final pitch meeting, and he'd made sure the partners knew he was instrumental in closing the deal. He'd been threatened by me, by my performance, by the fact that I was better at the job than he was. So he'd eliminated me. I spent the next week in shock and rage. Then I started looking at the complaint details HR had finally sent me, carefully worded to avoid defamation, but revealing enough. Every incident Trevor had reported was a lie or a distortion. A presentation where I took credit for his work. Actually my project he'd tried to claim. A client meeting where I undermined him. Actually me correcting his factual errors before we lost the account. A team lunch where I made inappropriate comments. Actually me joking about my own mistakes. He'd built a case. Fabricated evidence. Convinced HR and Marcus that I was toxic. And I had no recourse because employment in Colorado is at will. They could fire me for any reason or no reason, as long as it wasn't discriminatory. 2 weeks after my termination, I got a LinkedIn message from Hannah Rodriguez, VP of Marketing at Titan Industries. "Sloan, I heard what happened at Delgado and Associates. I'm sorry, you were excellent to work with. If you're looking for new opportunities, we're expanding our internal marketing team. Would you be interested in interviewing?" Titan Industries. Trevor's biggest client. The account I'd won. I interviewed 3 times over 2 weeks. Each conversation made it clearer. They were building something big. They wanted to bring marketing in-house instead of outsourcing to agencies. They needed someone who understood their business, their industry, their vision. Someone exactly like me. They offered me the position of Senior Marketing Director. 20% pay increase. Equity. Direct report to the CMO. I accepted immediately. For the first year, I kept my head down and worked. I built the internal marketing team from 3 people to 15. I created campaigns that doubled Titan's brand awareness. I managed budgets that agencies like Delgado and Associates used to control, including Trevor's agency. Titan still used Delgado and Associates for some specialized work. Trevor managed the account personally, his biggest client, representing 40% of the firm's annual revenue. He had no idea I worked there. Our teams didn't interact. I was in corporate marketing. He dealt with product campaigns through a different division. At the end of year 1, I was promoted to vice president of marketing. At 18 months, the CMO retired, and I was named chief marketing officer. At 2 years, the CEO promoted me to chief operating officer, overseeing marketing, sales, and business development, which meant I now oversaw all vendor relationships, including the one with Delgado and Associates. The quarterly business review was scheduled for a Tuesday. Trevor would present the agency's work for the past quarter and propose the contract renewal for the next year. I didn't tell him I'd be in the meeting. The invitation just listed Titan senior leadership. I arrived 5 minutes early, took my seat at the head of the conference table, reviewed the materials Trevor's team had submitted. The work was mediocre, serviceable but not innovative. Certainly not worth the $2.3 million annual retainer we were paying. Trevor walked in at exactly 2 p.m. with 2 junior associates. He was mid-sentence, confident and polished, until he saw me. He froze. "Sloan." "Hello, Trevor." I gestured to the chairs across from me. "Please sit down. You're here to present the quarterly review and renewal proposal for Delgado and Associates, correct?" He sat slowly, his confidence visibly cracking. "I didn't realize you worked here. For 2 years now. Currently chief operating officer. Which means I oversee all major vendor relationships." I smiled. "Including yours." His associates looked confused, glancing between us. "Let's proceed with your presentation," I said. "I'm interested to hear your renewal proposal." Trevor fumbled with his laptop, his hands unsteady. The presentation he gave was disjointed, unfocused. He kept losing his train of thought, looking at me like I was a ghost. When he finished, I leaned back in my chair. "Thank you for that overview. I have some questions." "Of course." "Your proposal requests a 15% increase in the annual retainer, bringing the total to $2.6 million. Can you justify that increase given that campaign performance has declined 12% year over year?" "The decline is due to market factors. Other agencies in our portfolio have shown performance increases during the same period. So it's not the market, it's execution." He shifted in his seat. "We've had some personnel transitions." "You mean you lost Sloan Morrison, who was managing this account before she was terminated?" "According to my records, performance declined immediately after her departure." His face flushed. I don't think that's entirely accurate. I have the data right here. Would you like to see it?" Silence. I continued. "Here's my concern, Trevor. Delgado and Associates is our 3rd largest agency partner. We pay $2.3 million annually. But I can't justify that spend when performance is declining, when your team lacks innovation, and when I know for a fact that your firm lost its best account manager 2 years ago. We've restructured since then." "Have you?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you got your biggest competitor fired, took credit for her work, and watched the account performance tank because you couldn't maintain what she'd built." His associates stared at him. "Sloan, this isn't the place." "This is exactly the place. This is a business review. I'm reviewing your business. And I'm not impressed. Our relationship goes back years. A relationship built by me. I developed this account. I cultivated the executives. I created the strategies you're still using. And you had me fired so you could take full credit. That's not what happened. Then tell me what happened. Tell me why you filed false HR complaints claiming I created a hostile work environment. Tell me why you fabricated incidents and convinced Marcus to terminate me." He couldn't meet my eyes. "You were a threat." The admission hung in the air. "A threat to what?" "To my career. You were better than me. Everyone knew it. You were going to make partner before I did, and I couldn't let that happen. So you lied. I did what I had to do to advance my career. By destroying mine. You obviously landed on your feet." I laughed, cold and sharp. "No thanks to you. You fired me, Trevor. Your lies cost me my job, my income, my reputation. The fact that I rebuilt doesn't erase what you did. What do you want? An apology. I want you to understand consequences." I pulled up a document on the screen behind me. "This is a termination notice for Delgado and Associates. Effective immediately, Titan Industries is ending our agency relationship. We're bringing all work in-house." Trevor's face went white. "You can't. That's $2.3 million. That's 40% of our revenue." "I can. And I am. You built your partnership on an account I created. Now I'm taking it away. This is revenge. This is business. Your performance doesn't justify the spend. I have documentation, metrics, comparative analysis. Any reasonable COO would make this decision. But you're making it because of what happened. I'm making it because you're not good enough. You never were. You rode my coattails, took my credit, and when you couldn't compete, you cheated. Now you lose. His junior associates were already packing up their materials, clearly eager to escape. Trevor stood, his voice shaking. You're destroying my career. No, I'm letting your actual abilities determine your career. Without my work propping you up, you're average. And average doesn't earn $2.3 million contracts. Please. Sloan, please. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was threatened and I made terrible choices. But don't do this. The firm will cut me. I'll lose my partnership. Good. I have a family. A mortgage. Kids. So did I when you had me fired. You didn't care then. I'm your brother. You stopped being my brother when you chose your ambition over my livelihood. Family doesn't sabotage family. Family doesn't lie to eliminate competition. He sank back into his chair. What do I do now? You figure it out. The same way I did after you had me fired. You adapt. You rebuild. You learn that actions have consequences. I stood up, gathering my materials. This meeting is concluded. HR will send the formal termination notice to Marcus by end of day. Your team has 2 weeks to transition remaining projects. I walked to the door, then paused. Trevor. He looked up, desperate. You taught me something important. You taught me that talent matters more than connections. That competence beats politics. That the truth always surfaces eventually. Sloan. Thanks for the lesson. It was expensive for you, but valuable for me. Delgado and Associates lost 40% of their revenue when we terminated the contract. Trevor was forced to step down from partner. He's working as a senior account executive at a smaller firm now, making half what he used to. Marcus called me 3 months later, asking if I'd consider coming back to the agency as a partner. I declined. My career at Titan is thriving. I'm on track to become CEO within 3 years. I've built a marketing organization that's won industry awards and driven unprecedented growth. All without my brother's help. Actually, because of his betrayal. Because being fired forced me to take a risk I wouldn't have taken otherwise. Forced me to prove myself in a new environment. Forced me to bet on my abilities instead of my resume. Trevor tried to destroy me. Instead, he freed me. And when I became his biggest client's COO, I made sure he understood exactly what he'd lost. My name is Sloan Morrison. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Titan Industries. I oversee $50 million in annual marketing spend. My brother got me fired to advance his career. 2 years later, I fired his agency and ended his partnership. Some people call it revenge. I call it consequences. He chose ambition over integrity. I chose competence over connections. He lost. I won. And that phone call, that quarterly business review where he saw me sitting at the head of the table, was the moment he realized his lies had caught up with him. The first call he made to me as my vendor. The last call he ever made as a partner. Because I built my career on talent. He built his on theft. And only one of those foundations lasts.